The orbital station of Arendor floated like a jewel above the swirling clouds of the gas giant Krivos. Its exterior gleamed with polished metal, reflecting the distant sun, while the interior buzzed with beings from dozens of worlds. Aliens of every shape and color mingled in the grand promenade, their conversations a symphony of clicks, hums, and strange musical tones. For most, it was a chance to show off wealth, technology, or status. For Kale, a human diplomat and occasional adventurer, it was a rare opportunity to prove that humans were not just survivors, but innovators. Kale adjusted the collar of his dark tunic and stepped through the gates of the gala. He was small in stature compared to the towering Trinari, whose limbs seemed to stretch endlessly, and the luminous Valkyrie, whose skin shimmered like liquid crystal. Yet Kale carried himself with calm confidence. Humans had always been underestimated, and he intended to use that to his advantage. Music swelled through the main hall, a mix of vibrating strings and telepathic harmonics. Floating platforms carried dancers above the crowd, their motions flowing like liquid, almost defying gravity. Kale's eyes scanned the crowd, noting the figures that mattered. Among them was Zirak, the legendary magnate of the station, whose reputation for testing visitors' worthiness was well known. No one approached him without caution. That caution vanished, however, when Lyra appeared beside Kale. She was from the Telvanni, a species known for their telepathic gifts and graceful movements. Her eyes glimmered with intelligence, curiosity, and something playful, and she leaned close enough that Kale could feel the faint warmth of her presence. "Dance with me," she whispered, her voice light yet commanding. "He's watching. The reward is a kiss." Kale tilted his head, studying her for a moment. His lips curved into a half-smile. "That reward's too small," he replied. The words were casual, but beneath them lay a spark of challenge. He knew the game Lyra was inviting him into, and he liked games. Her laugh was soft, melodic, and slightly teasing. "I suspected you would say that. Humans are never satisfied with small prizes." "You think the real prize is just a kiss?" Kale asked, raising an eyebrow. "Humans thrive on bigger challenges. Show me what else you have." Lyra's eyes flickered with amusement. "Then be ready. The gala is only the beginning. Zirak enjoys watching those who dare to defy expectation." Kale nodded. He was not intimidated. Humans had survived wars, natural disasters, and conflicts with more powerful species than this. If Zirak was looking for spectacle, Kale was determined to give him one. As they moved onto the floating dance platform, the music shifted. Gravity adapted to their movements, allowing Kale and Lyra to float, spin, and glide effortlessly. The other dancers watched, some curious, some skeptical. Humans rarely performed in this way. Kale's movements were precise yet unpredictable, using instincts and experience to twist and turn in ways no alien had ever seen. "You're different," Lyra said quietly. "Most species follow the rhythm exactly. You improvise." Kale chuckled. "Improvisation is a human specialty. Predictable patterns are for those afraid of failure." The dance ended with a graceful landing. Applause rippled through the platform, and Kale noticed a faint, approving smile from Zirak. The magnate's eyes were sharp, as though assessing every subtle movement, every micro-expression. Kale knew the old stories. Zirak had destroyed careers, empires, and reputations in the past, with nothing more than a nod or a shake of the head. But Kale had survived worse. Before they could catch their breath, Lyra gestured toward a quieter part of the station. "The real test isn't the dance. Follow me." They moved through corridors of polished metal and glass, past alien artwork that shimmered with kinetic energy. Kale noticed security drones gliding silently overhead, scanning the crowd for threats. This station was a fortress, yet it was also a playground for those clever enough to navigate its dangers. Lyra led him to a private chamber, dimly lit and filled with holographic displays. "Zirak enjoys his little tests," she said. "Tonight, he will observe, but soon, you will have to act. Not everyone who attends the gala leaves with honor, or even alive." Kale's pulse quickened, but not with fear. Excitement surged through him. This was exactly why humans thrived among the stars. The unknown was never a reason to retreat, only an invitation to innovate. "Then let's see this test," Kale said, his voice steady. "I've survived worse than a gala, with a magnate watching." Lyra smiled, but there was seriousness behind her eyes. "Worse? Perhaps. But Zirak's tests are unlike anything you have faced. He doesn't rely on brute force. He relies on intellect, instinct, and adaptability. You must be sharper than you think." Kale nodded. "Adaptable has been humans' motto for centuries. We survive by thinking, changing, and outlasting everyone around us. I imagine Zirak will find that interesting." As if summoned by his words, a soft chime echoed in the room, and a holographic projection appeared Zirak himself. His form was humanoid, but angular and imposing, with eyes that glowed faintly like molten gold. "Kale," his voice resonated, deep and calm, yet carrying undeniable authority. "You have caught my attention. Few humans do. Most either fail or fade into obscurity." Kale stepped forward respectfully. "I don't intend to fade." Zirak's gaze lingered on him, assessing, calculating. "Good. Tonight's gala is more than spectacle. It is a series of trials. Some are visible, some hidden. Success requires instinct, cooperation, and courage. Fail, and the consequences are severe. Succeed, and the rewards extend far beyond any kiss or favor." Lyra's hand brushed Kale's as she nodded. "See? I wasn't exaggerating. The real prize is knowledge, influence, and power. All you need is to survive the night." Kale allowed a confident smirk. "Surviving is my specialty." Zirak's image flickered, and then vanished. Lyra turned to Kale, her expression unreadable. "Remember, humans are clever, yes, but cleverness alone is not enough. You must anticipate, react, and sometimes take leaps others would never dare." Kale looked at her and grinned. "Leaps are my favorite part." The night stretched ahead like a galaxy of possibilities. Music, lights, whispers, and challenges swirled around them. Kale could feel it, the thrill of the unknown, the promise of adventure, and the undeniable truth. Humans had a reputation for doing the impossible. And tonight, he intended to prove it. As they returned to the main hall, Kale caught sight of other guests, many powerful, many dangerous, all curious, yet none moved, with the raw unpredictability he carried. Lyra stayed close, her telepathic senses likely scanning for threats and intentions. Together, they were an unusual pair. A human and a telepath. Instinct and intuition combined. "Are you ready?" Lyra asked softly. Kale's eyes sparkled. "I was born ready." And with that, the gala full of danger, intrigue, and the promise of impossible challenges truly began. The stars outside the station shone cold and distant. But inside, the sparks of human ingenuity and courage began to light up a world that had never expected it. The gala had begun in full swing. But for Kale, the music and laughter were little more than background noise. His focus was on the challenges that waited, subtle but deadly, hidden behind the glittering lights and polite conversations. Zirak's eyes were everywhere, and Kale knew the magnate didn't reward recklessness. He rewarded cleverness, bravery, and the courage to defy expectation. Lyra guided him through the hall, moving with an elegance that seemed effortless. She was aware of every glance, every whisper, every flicker of suspicion. Kale, by contrast, relied on instinct. Humans had survived by noticing patterns, improvising, and thinking several steps ahead. Together, they were unusual, but potentially unstoppable. First, you must prove that you can survive, Lyra said, her voice quiet but firm. Zirak doesn't test with weapons. That would be too simple. Tonight, you will face puzzles, traps, and judgments. Fail, and the consequences are unpleasant. Kale raised an eyebrow. Unpleasant is part of the fun. I've survived. Worse. She smiled faintly but didn't argue. Instead, she led him to a room on the outer edge of the station. The door slid open silently, revealing a chamber that seemed empty. The walls were smooth, metallic, reflecting the soft light from above. But Kyle noticed the faint hum of machinery beneath the surface, a warning. Subtle, but present. Here, Lyra whispered, is where the first trial begins. Observe carefully. The floor beneath them shifted suddenly. Panels slid apart, revealing a pit lined with glowing crystals that pulsed like hearts. A bridge of thin, translucent panels appeared too narrow for comfort and slightly unstable. Kale felt a thrill run through him. This wasn't just a test of courage. It was a test of calculation, timing, and adaptability. Cross it, Lyra instructed. Without touching the crystals, Kale stepped forward, testing the first panel. It wobbled under his weight, but held. He took a deep breath and started moving, using careful balance and instinct to sense which panels were safe. Humans had an advantage in unpredictability. No algorithm could anticipate his subtle adjustments, the tiny shifts in weight that kept him stable. Halfway across, the bridge shifted, panels moving like living things. Kale paused for only a heartbeat, then adjusted his stance. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. Humans weren't supposed to be this adaptable. You're faster than I expected, she said softly. I've learned to survive by improvising, Kale replied without looking back. Predictable movement gets you killed. With one final careful step, Kale reached the far side. The bridge retracted behind him, leaving a faint shimmer in the air where it had been. Lyra followed, her movements graceful, precise, and telepathically assisted. Together, they had passed the first trial not with strength, but with skill and ingenuity. Before they could celebrate, the walls shifted again. Holographic projections sprang to life, filling the chamber with alien symbols and shifting patterns. A voice echoed through the room, Zirak's deep, calm tone. Observation and balance are simple, but can you solve what cannot be seen? Can you anticipate the unseen? The unspoken. Lyra's telepathy flared slightly as she scanned the projections. Kyle studied them carefully. The symbols weren't random, they moved in predictable sequences, patterns embedded in chaos. His human mind, used to improvisation and lateral thinking, began to decipher them. Where others might see confusion, he saw opportunity. Watch, he said to Lyra. Don't try to overthink it. Sometimes, the simplest solution is the correct one. He reached out, touching the first symbol. It responded immediately, locking into place. Kale moved through the sequence, combining intuition with observation. Lyra followed, impressed by the speed and creativity of his approach. By the time the final symbol clicked into alignment, the projections vanished, and a hidden door slid open. You learn quickly, Lyra said, her voice a mixture of admiration and surprise. Most fail on the first trial. Humans, you are unpredictable. Kale smiled faintly. Unpredictable is the human way. Predictable is safe, but safe is boring. The next chamber was darker, filled with floating platforms and shifting gravity fields. This trial was physical, but required mental precision. Floating energy mines drifted between platforms, pulsing with soft blue light. Touch one, and the room would fill with a loud alarm. A failure Kale suspected would attract Zirak's displeasure. Step carefully, Lyra warned. These are not illusions. Kyle studied the rhythm of the mines. They moved in patterns, almost like dancers. Using timing, instinct, and quick reflexes, he jumped from platform to platform, sometimes barely avoiding the pulsing energy fields. Each move required split-second decisions and improvisation. Where most would hesitate, he moved decisively. Halfway across, a platform shifted unexpectedly. Kyle adjusted, twisting mid-air, landing safely. Lyra gasped softly. How? How do you adapt so quickly? Humans survive, Kale said simply. We improvise, we adjust, we never give up. They reached the far side. The room's walls slid back, revealing the final segment, a holographic maze. Vast and intricate, with multiple paths, dead ends, and shifting walls. Kale's pulse quickened. This was the true test of strategy and intuition. You first, Lyra said. I will follow. Telepathy helps me sense danger. But you see possibilities no one else does. Kale nodded and stepped into the maze. He moved carefully, but with confidence, noting the subtle shifts in light and shadow. Where walls seemed solid, he detected faint vibrations, pressure points that indicated hidden passages. He made decisions quickly, but not recklessly, trusting his instincts. Hours could have passed. Time felt different in the maze. Kale's human creativity allowed him to bypass traps, find hidden doors, and anticipate dead ends before they became mistakes. Lyra followed, occasionally guiding him, occasionally learning from his unconventional choices. At last, Kale reached the center. A platform rose, and a soft light bathed the chamber. Sirach's holographic image appeared once more. Remarkable, the magnate said. Few survive the maze, fewer still with such ingenuity. Humans, you are indeed unpredictable. KL bowed slightly. Unpredictable, yes, but effective. Lyra smiled, her admiration clear. You make it look effortless. Effortless comes from experience. KL replied. We humans have survived impossible odds for centuries. We don't just react. We adapt, improvise, and turn challenges into opportunities. Sirach's image flickered and vanished. The chamber opened to reveal a quiet observation deck, overlooking the swirling clouds of Krivos below. KL and Lyra stepped out, catching their breath. You passed the first round, Lyra said. But this is only the beginning. Sirach's real challenge is yet to come. KL leaned against the railing, looking out at the gas giant. The swirling storm seemed calm compared to the excitement in his veins. Then, I hope the next challenge is worthy, he said. Because humans, we don't back down from worthy challenges. Lyra's eyes sparkled. That's what makes you dangerous. And fascinating. Kale grinned. Fascinating is just the start. Humans survive. Humans adapt. Humans win, where others fail. That's the real prize. And so, as the lights of the station glimmered around them and the distant stars sparkled, Kale felt the thrill of the unknown. The trials were only beginning. But already the human's reputation for ingenuity and courage was earning attention. Sirach had watched, and humans had made their mark. Tomorrow, the challenges would be greater, the stakes higher, but KL was ready. Because humans didn't just face challenges, they thrived in them. The next day, the gala continued. But the atmosphere had shifted. KL could feel it in the subtle tension of the crowd, and the keen eyes that followed every movement. Sirach had observed the first round, and now, the challenges were no longer simple tests, they were high-stakes gambles. Lyra met Kyle near the observation deck, her expression serious but expectant. The next trial begins in the station's outer rings. A race. But not a simple one. Kale's eyes lit up. A race? Now you're speaking my language. Humans thrived on speed, risk, and unpredictability. If this was a test of instinct and adaptability, he would excel. The race isn't just about speed, Lyra warned. It's a test of navigation, strategy, and reaction. The rings are filled with hazards, energy mines, shifting gravity fields, and unpredictable currents. You must pilot your ship carefully, but with daring. Recklessness will destroy you. Kale nodded. Recklessness is boring, but calculated, daring. Now, that's human territory. They moved to the docking bay, where sleek ships waited. Each participant had a ship, all advanced and highly responsive. But Kale's human intuition gave him an edge. While others relied on pre-programmed autopilot and careful calculations, Kale trusted instincts and improvisation. Lyra joined him in the co-pilot seat. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "Humans take risks that seem unnecessary." Kale smiled. "The unnecessary is often the most effective. Watch, learn, and adapt." The doors opened to the ring system of Krivos, a magnificent yet treacherous expanse. Massive gas clouds swirled. Glittering fragments floated in zero gravity, and energy mines pulsed with warning lights. The race route was unpredictable, marked only by shifting holographic gates. "On my mark," Zirak's voice boomed through comm channels. "This race will determine who can think, adapt, and survive when nothing goes as planned. Fail, and you are out. Succeed, and you gain access to rewards beyond imagination. Begin." Dot. The ships launched simultaneously, engines roaring in harmony. Kale's ship leaped forward with smooth precision, instinct guiding his movements. Humans had a natural advantage: the ability to improvise in the middle of chaos. A trait no alien system could fully predict. The first section of the rings was littered with energy mines. Competitors hesitated, calculating exact paths, moving cautiously. Kale, by contrast, weaved fluidly, letting the mine's predictable pulses guide him rather than confine him. "Impressive," Lyra said, gripping her seat. "You trust your instincts more than any calculation." Kale grinned. "Instinct is faster than calculation. It's why humans survive." 2. The next challenge was a sudden shift in gravity fields. Platforms and floating debris spun unpredictably, threatening to throw pilots off course. Kale adjusted instantly, twisting the ship mid-spin, using the debris as shields and momentum. Lyra's telepathy sensed minor changes before they occurred, and she guided him through subtle corrections. Together, they moved like a single entity, human daring and alien perception combined. Midway through the course, a massive storm cloud of ionized gas appeared. Ships that relied on sensors faltered. Autopilots failed. Kale's instincts kicked in. He shut down automated systems and piloted manually, feeling the ship respond to every vibration, every subtle change in gravity. Where others saw danger, he saw opportunity. He darted through the storm with daring maneuvers that left competitors behind. "Humans never give up," Kale said, voice calm despite the chaos. "We survive. We adapt. We win." Lyra nodded. "And we are unstoppable together." Suddenly, the route twisted through a series of narrow asteroid clusters, barely leaving room for maneuvering. Other pilots panicked or slowed excessively. Kale, anticipating the gaps and paths, surged forward with calculated risks, threading the ship through openings that seemed impossible. Every movement was precise, but unpredictable. Competitors couldn't anticipate his choices. One of the alien pilots, a tall Trinari, tried to cut Kale off, assuming humans were predictable. Kale smiled faintly, veering sharply at the last second, letting the Trinari crash into a floating rock harmlessly. The advantage humans had: the ability to think outside predictable patterns shone clearly. "Nice move," Lyra said, impressed. "You don't just survive, you dominate unpredictably." Kale's grin widened. "That's what humans do. The final stretch approached a sequence of shifting holographic gates and energy rings that moved erratically. Even the most advanced navigational systems failed to keep up. KL relied on intuition, memorizing the rhythm of the gates and anticipating their next positions. He whispered commands to Lyra, who adjusted minor telepathic nudges to enhance precision. As they accelerated, the final gate appeared. It pulsed with golden light, signaling the finish line. Kale's ship surged forward, weaving between hazards with human creativity and instinct. They crossed the line with perfect timing. The crowd of spectators, including Zirak, gasping in surprise. Kale slowed the ship, letting the engines hum as Lyra leaned back, visibly relieved. Kale shook his head. Effortless? Hardly. Humans just see possibilities others ignore. Zirak's voice boomed through the channel. Remarkable. Few survived this course, fewer still with such ingenuity and daring. Humans, you continue to defy expectation. Your unpredictability is refreshing. Kale's heart raced, but his expression remained calm. Refreshment comes from surviving, he said. And humans have survived impossible odds for centuries. Lyra laughed softly. You're impossible, Kale. Truly impossible. Impossible is just another word humans turn into reality, Kale replied. Other participants were shaken, many visibly exhausted or defeated. Kale's style calculated risk, adaptability, intuition, highlighted the qualities humans had always been known for. Courage, ingenuity, and the ability to turn chaos into opportunity. Zirak watched silently, impressed not only by Kale's skill but also by his confidence and composure. After docking, Kale and Lyra walked toward the observation deck, overlooking the rings below. The gas giant spun slowly, storms glowing with electric blues and purples. The beauty of it contrasted sharply with the danger of the race. You've done it, Lyra said. Many expected humans to falter. Kale shrugged, his characteristic grin returning. We don't falter. We adapt. We improvise. That's why humans endure and win where others fail. Lyra's eyes softened. And yet, you're not reckless. You're daring, but calculated. That combination, it's dangerous. Dangerous is one way to describe humans, Kale said. But the better word is unstoppable. Zirak's voice returned, this time closer and more personal. Kale, Lyra, you have proven that human adaptability is remarkable. Many species rely on tools, algorithms, and calculation. Humans rely on instinct, courage, and creativity. You remind the galaxy why humanity is exceptional. Kale exchanged a glance with Lyra. They had survived the race, but the challenges weren't over. Zirak was not a man to be impressed lightly, and humans thrived precisely in that space, against impossible odds, under observation, with the world doubting them at every step. Tomorrow, Kale said quietly, we see what else he has in store. But no matter what, humans, we survive. We adapt. And we win. Lyra nodded. And when we do, the galaxy will notice. Humans are not just participants. They are wildcards. Unpredictable, courageous, unstoppable. Kale's eyes sparkled with determination. Let them watch. Let them underestimate us. It makes the victory all the sweeter. As they left the observation deck, the lights of the station reflected off their determined faces. Other participants whispered and glanced nervously at Kale. He was a reminder that humans were more than just survivors. They were innovators, problem solvers, and defiers of expectation. The race had been won. But the real prize, the recognition, the influence, and the ultimate test of ingenuity was still ahead. Kale smiled faintly. Let's see what Zirak has prepared for us next. Because humans. And so, with the stars glittering around them and the rings of Krivos spinning below. Kale and Lyra prepared for the final trials. Human ingenuity, adaptability, and courage had already made an impression. But Kale knew, as he always did, that the greatest challenges were yet to come. Because humans didn't just survive, they conquered the impossible. The station was quiet that evening, but the air was thick with anticipation. Kale stood at the edge of the observation deck, gazing at the swirling storms of Krivos below. The earlier race had cemented his reputation. Human instinct and ingenuity had turned a dangerous challenge into victory. Yet, he knew Zirak's final trial would be unlike anything they had faced so far. Lyra joined him, her telepathic senses alert to the tension radiating through the station. This isn't just about skill or speed. Zirak designs challenges to test judgment, leadership, and creativity. He wants to see who can rise above expectation or fail trying. Kale cracked a small smile. Then it's perfect. Humans thrive when the odds are impossible. It's what makes us exceptional. Lyra's eyes sparkled. Yes, but even humans can be tested too far. Be careful. Kale waved off her concern. Careful isn't human. Clever, adaptive, and fearless. That's human. The doors of the observation deck opened, revealing a chamber unlike any they had entered. It was vast, stretching farther than the eye could see, with floating platforms, holographic walls, and intricate machinery suspended in midair. At the center was a pedestal, glowing with a soft golden light. Hovering above it was a sphere of energy, pulsing with raw power. Zirak's voice echoed through the chamber. Kale, Lyra, you have proven cleverness, courage, and adaptability. But the ultimate challenge is a combination of all you have faced. Reach the pedestal, secure the energy sphere, and return safely. But remember, this is not just about survival. It is about ingenuity and leadership. Fail, and the consequences are significant. Kale took a deep breath. Then, let's begin. The platforms shifted beneath their feet, forming a path across the chamber. Unlike previous trials, this one was unpredictable. Platforms rotated, expanded, and contracted. Energy barriers appeared and disappeared, and gaps widened without warning. Kale's instincts guided him, reading the subtle movements of the machinery, anticipating the shifts before they happened. Lyra followed closely, her telepathy scanning for hidden threats. She was impressed by Kale's calm precision. Most species would panic under these circumstances. Humans adapted. Humans improvised. Humans thrived. Midway through, the path narrowed into a series of rotating rings. One wrong step could send them plummeting. Kale leaped confidently from ring to ring, spinning and twisting, using the momentum to reach the next safely. Lyra barely kept up, adjusting for telepathic guidance and precision timing. "You're incredible," she said, momentarily out of breath. Kale glanced back, grinning. Humans have survived worse than spinning rings above a pit. Besides, improvisation is fun. The next challenge was a puzzle integrated into the chamber itself. Holographic panels projected symbols, each shifting in response to touch and thought. The panels formed a barrier around the pedestal. Lyra studied the symbols, her mind racing. But Kale noticed something others had missed. Patterns in the chaos. Subtle repetitions, hidden in plain sight. "Watch carefully," Kale said. "The solution isn't in force or speed. It's in observation and timing." He moved his hands across the panels, aligning the symbols in unconventional sequences, ignoring the obvious paths. The panels responded, shifting to create a bridge leading directly to the pedestal. Lyra followed, impressed by the human ability to see possibilities others ignored. "Your mind, it's like a puzzle solver on instinct," she said. Kale smiled. Instinct is just practice over centuries. Humans survive because we notice what others overlook and act when others hesitate. At last, they reached the pedestal. The energy sphere hovered, glowing brighter as they approached. Kale reached out, but the sphere responded to intent as much as to touch. A sudden surge of force pushed back, testing resolve, creativity, and focus. Kale centered himself, breathing steadily. Humans had faced stronger forces, greater challenges, and more dangerous situations. This was simply another opportunity to adapt. He extended his hands, thinking not just of grabbing the sphere, but of balancing it, using its energy to create stability rather than confrontation. The sphere pulsed, recognizing his approach, and gently settled into his grip. Lyra exhaled softly in relief. "You did it," she whispered. "You adapted perfectly." Kale nodded. Adaptation is human nature. Survival is instinct. Success is optional, but we aim for it anyway. With the sphere secured, the path back appeared, twisting and shifting like before. But Kyle didn't hesitate. He led the way, anticipating every movement, dodging energy barriers, leaping over gaps, and adjusting for rotating platforms. Lyra followed, impressed by the combination of courage, intuition, and precise calculation. Halfway back, a platform collapsed unexpectedly, sending others around them into panic. Kale grabbed a nearby floating rod, swinging across the gap with perfect timing. Lyra mirrored him, telepathically sensing each adjustment. Humans thrived on unpredictability, where aliens struggled to calculate every shift. Kale moved instinctively, turning danger into opportunity. "Impressive," Lyra said, smiling. "You make the impossible seem easy." Kale shook his head. "Not easy, adaptable. Humans survive because we act, think, and adjust faster than anyone expects." As they neared the final stretch, the chamber quaked, and energy barriers rose unexpectedly. Other competitors faltered, panicked, or stopped altogether. Kale analyzed the timing of the barriers, predicting their rise and fall with near-perfect precision. He leaped, twisted, and slid through openings, Lyra following seamlessly. Finally, they reached the exit. The golden glow of the energy sphere illuminated their path. Kale and Lyra stepped out onto solid ground. Zirak's holographic form appeared, radiating approval. "Remarkable," Zirak said. "Few have combined skill, instinct, and ingenuity as you have. Humans, you are unpredictable, daring, and capable of turning the impossible into achievement. You have earned more than any kiss, more than simple rewards. You have earned knowledge, influence, and recognition that will extend far beyond this station." Kale bowed slightly, holding the energy sphere. "The real reward," he said, "was proving that humans can survive, adapt, and excel where others falter. That is our gift." Lyra smiled, her admiration clear. "And you did it with grace, skill, and courage." Zirak's form flickered, then vanished. The crowd of spectators, who had been watching silently, erupted in astonishment and applause. Humans had done the impossible once again. The unpredictable, daring, adaptable species had triumphed. Kale looked at Lyra. "Sometimes," he said, "the challenge itself is the greatest reward. Humans don't just chase prizes. We create them by facing the impossible." Lyra nodded. "And today, you've reminded the galaxy why humans are exceptional." Kale smiled faintly, gazing out at the swirling clouds of Krivos. "Let them remember. Let them watch. The universe will learn that humans survive. Humans adapt. Humans thrive. And when we do, we don't just win, we change the game entirely." The energy sphere pulsed gently in his hands, a symbol of achievement, ingenuity, and the culmination of courage and intellect. Humans were no longer just participants. They were innovators, problem solvers, and a force that the galaxy could not ignore. As Kale and Lyra walked together toward the observation deck, the lights of the station reflected on their determined faces. The spectators whispered, recording every movement, every decision, every daring leap. The legend of the humans had grown exponentially. "You think they'll underestimate humans again?" Lyra asked. Kale shook his head with a grin. "Let them. Every time they do, it makes our victory sweeter." And so, the gala ended with a triumph that would echo across the stars. Humans had faced impossible trials, outwitted advanced technologies, and turned danger into opportunity. Kale and Lyra had proven that courage, ingenuity, and adaptability were far more powerful than size, speed, or pre-programmed calculations. The universe had watched, and now it had learned. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were wildcards, innovators, and unstoppable. And Kale, holding the energy sphere, knew that this was only the beginning. Because humans didn't just face challenges, they conquered the impossible.